Untitled Technology and the Art of Coaching, what it means for your business. And we've got two guys that are maybe a little bit, I think you'll find on either side of the equation, but probably we'll come back to center here. At least that's what we hope. And
we're in the center.
Yeah, I know. But we kind of turn these two loose and let them collaborate on a presentation here that I think you're going to find really enjoyable. Don Parsons, here in the red, is a technology geek. He runs the studio at Twin Lakes Golf Club up in Santa Barbara. Very renowned instructor, works with a lot of good players, college, high school, professionals, etc. Just one of the really smart guys as far as teaching and as far as using technology. And as he said the other day, he says, I don't mind spending money on technology, and I'll be up till 2, 3 in the morning, studying technology, if not pulling all-nighters. But you're getting a little old for that, aren't you?
I am.
Rick Sessinghaus is the director of instruction at Chevy Chase Country Club. He's an author, an expert on the mental game. He's got some doctorates and some other things, so I don't need to tell you how smart he is. Just trust me, these two guys are very smart. So I'm going to turn them loose for their presentation. I think you will really enjoy it, and let's please be interactive here and ask some questions, certainly at the end, if not during, and enjoy.
Thank you. Good morning. This has been awesome the last couple days. I think as instructors and being in the business for a while, we get to a point where we think we actually know something, and then we have these speakers come up and we go, I don't know as much as I thought. And that's what I love about this collaboration as PGA professionals. And thank you to John and Bill for putting this together, because now I get to learn more, we get to share ideas. And that's actually part of technology, isn't it? We have technology now that we can share ideas with. When we think about our profession as instructors, it hasn't been around very long when you think about the history of golf and the golf professionals. So there's a quote I saw from Harry Barton. I have never had a lesson in my life. Okay. And then we have Byron Nelson here talking about being self-taught and being able to go through trial and error. He's going, wait a second, these are two of the greatest players of all time, and there really wasn't any coaching involved. So really, how did we learn this game? And how are we going to continue to, as golf professionals, teach and coach others? And I believe we're at a crossroads, actually, to where we now have so much technology that the golfers themselves are in control, not us. And we have to blend art and science together to be able to make better players and have them enjoy the game more. So we look at what's happened here in the last 125 years. We started off with people who took up the game and were told, just imitate the good player over there, and you'll get better. Then there became caddies, right? And the caddies would give tips on the course, kind of like a playing lesson, in a way. Oh, Mr. Jones, you just need to do this here. Right? And then that progressed into where we had finally players like Harry Barton and Bobby Jones sharing information through books. It's like, oh, that's how they're doing it now. Their secrets are out. And that's how people started to learn. Well, then magazines, more books, Ben Hogan's 5 Fundamentals, made people have information now in front of them. And as these magazines got better and better with high-speed cameras, we could start now seeing the positions. Oh, that's what they meant by impact or takeaway. Now, we got all this information, and I know when I was young, I just loved looking at these cutouts here, right? Best players in the world and what they're doing. Oh, I got to copy that. So notice we're imitating, we're copying. Well, then television comes about, right? And the Arnold Palmer's out there, and now we have a personality put to it, and we have commentators mentioning how he's doing something. So people are getting more and more information. But we still haven't got to that point where teaching and coaching is the main element. And I believe as we went into the 70s and 80s, we, as golf instructors, finally had a say. And some of that was with the professionals that were doing really well at that time, who were finally giving some credibility to the teaching pros, saying, he helped me, she helped me. Maybe they'll help you too. And that's just, we're talking 30, 40 years ago, that's it. So the coaching element and the teaching element has now been there, and now we're seeing a swing now to technology, to where we can have go to a tournament, we can see it on TV, we can have commentators. And then we had systems. So now we have high-speed cameras. And we have great professionals who say, such and such helped me so much. And that person now becomes a brand, don't they? Famous instructors, their brand, their system. Well, their system's got to be it then, right? They know all the answers. So that swayed the golfers too. Well, that system's better than the other system. That's just that information though. We have a responsibility to tap into every single golfer as individuals so they can become better and start utilizing what we're going to talk a lot about today is the technology. When we look at some technology things right now, we definitely know that instruction in the last 10 years, we have different things that Don's going to talk about with technology, but where else are people going with this? They're going it with their phones, right? They can now use video. What we thought 10, 15 years ago, seeing yourself on video was a big deal, right? But now everybody can do it. And now we as instructors need to know where are these people getting the information and are they using it correctly? Technology is a way for information to be delivered. However, we're now not in control anymore. I have several apps on my phone. One app is a V1. Right? One has to do with measuring, it's a new one that measures hip rotation and coordination on the phone while it's on somebody. I have a metronome to keeping somebody with their putting stroke. I've got all these 99-cent apps up to $6 apps that anybody can use to become better golfers. But are they truly becoming better golfers with this technology? What I'm going to be talking a lot about today is communication and coaching and the art that makes us more than the technology. If the technology wins this, we are going to lose. Okay? People are going to self-diagnose, right? They're going to now look at unfiltered information on YouTube and think, oh, I got the fix. I just need to know what to do. We need to tell them why it's important, how to do it. We are the experts, and our experience needs to come forth. So I want Don to now talk a little bit more about what this technology age is and how we're going to blend the two of the art and the technology.
So we've got Google and YouTube up here, and just for kicks the other night, I put in the new ball flight laws into Google, and I got 1,290,000 responses in 0.19 seconds on the new ball flight laws. What does that mean to our businesses? Okay. If you don't understand some of this information, it's unfiltered and it's out there, and I guarantee you people are searching for it and finding it. And if you don't understand the new ball flight laws as they're coming out, that the face controls the initial starting direction of the golf ball, you lose credibility, and that's important to our business. So lots of answers are out there on both Google, on YouTube. You can find a great story. My son, one day I came home and he's 8 years old, he's got his Nerf gun disassembled on the dining room table. I said, oh, what happened, buddy? He said, did your Nerf gun break? He says, no, Dad, I'm modifying it. So what do you mean? He had gone on YouTube, looked on how to make your Nerf gun better, disassembled the whole thing, changed a couple of springs, did this, that, and the other thing. It could shoot and stick to the window on the back of this room. It was unbelievable. He modified all the kids in the neighborhood's guns. Then he started looking at airsoft guns. Now high school kids are coming over to our house, so my 8-year-old can tear down their airsoft gun, make it perform better, and get rid of the jams so they don't have to buy a new one. Information's out there. Kids are going to seek it out. They're going to find it. Adults are going to seek it out. People are after information. They're going to find it one way or another. If we're not up to date and paying attention to what's out there and what's important, they're going to find it, and it's going to hurt your credibility. It's going to hurt your business. Facebook and Twitter. How many people are on Facebook or Twitter using some sort? A few. Okay. From a student standpoint, it's really easy to friend a top instructor. You can friend anyone on Facebook for the most part, and they're going to interact with you. So now in real time, in both Facebook and Twitter, you can start interacting with people. I've had a lot of luck on Facebook, learning from some of the best people in the world, different stuff. Frank wasn't one of them that I connected with putting, but about 5 years ago, I wanted to learn as much as I could about putting. In the last couple of years, I've been able to hook up with guys like Philip Kenyon, who teaches a bunch of the European Tour players, and really get to the bottom of what's important from a putting standpoint. We can do that for full swing. We can do that for just a variety of things. How do you use technology? And you shoot people a message on Facebook, it's amazing who will respond to you. So the ability to bridge the gap between experts and then be perceived as an expert yourself is really important with this stuff. This is the world we live in, you know. Kids are online right away. Adults are doing the same kind of thing. We're constantly looking for this information. A couple weeks ago, I was doing a club fitting for one of my high school players, and pulled a bunch of shafts out. He was spinning his driver too much. He had about 4,400 RPMs to spin with his driver, and was wondering why he was having trouble hitting fairways when it was windy out. And one of the ones I brought down was this Matrix OZ HD6. I just knew that it was a lightweight, lower spinning shaft. I pull it out, and he says, well, at 3.8 degrees of torque and at 65 grams, that one's kind of light. And, isn't it $300 too? I said, let's just put it on the launch monitor and find out if it works for you. He knew everything about this shaft because he's been to the Matrix site over and over again. He knows the white shaft, the red shaft, they know all this stuff. They're looking for that information. They're going to find it. And the great thing is, or the bad thing is, it's available to us and it's easy to get to. Since I am the tech geek, one of the things I did is I put together a bunch of different sorts of tech that's out there and available to us. I'm going to run through these really quickly because this isn't the real point of what we're talking about. What I want to talk about is how the tech can help you enhance your business, help you understand, and help you gather information. In the grand scheme of things, and I believe this very strongly, even though I love the technology is there to give us data. It's not there to do any sort of job for us. Data is not how people are going to get better. How people are going to get better is how we coach them. We're going to decide what data is important, what data needs to be adjusted, and how it's going to go forward. This is an example of some of the force plate data. We can get balance and motion plates. SAM Balance Lab, I'm not going to read them. Basically, for $5,000 to $25,000, you can figure exactly where the center of pressure, center of mass, torque, torsion, all sorts of different stuff will go. 3D system, this one's near and dear to my heart. I love 3D because I like graphs. That looks like a golf swing to me. To most people, not so much. But for $500,000 to $36,000 on up, we can get all sorts of 3D information that tells you exactly where they're going in their golf swing. Video. I'm hoping that everyone has video. Down here, again, you're going to have 8-year-olds that come in with their iPhone 5s with the coach's advantage on it. If you're not a little bit more advanced than your 8-year-old students, it's going to cost you some business moving forward. Flight scope, TrackMan, radar launch monitors that are measuring everything the golf ball does and now giving us great data. Arguments are on how accurate the club data is, but they're there and we're learning great stuff from that and being able to adjust how people perform based on just how the golf club goes through the ball and how the ball performs. We've got Sammy, the Putt Lab, Quintic, different ways of measuring what the body and the putter do and also ball performance. Again, $14.99 for the Ping app. You clip that thing on your putter. If that's the level of technology you're at, you're still probably ahead of most of the people. So again, gathering information. What we have to decide with this, and it's one of the things that I always use to decide what technology I'm willing to purchase, is I'm not doing research. I'm trying to help my players. So referring to this, I bought the Tommy, which was a $900 system, so that I could measure 9 different parameters of a putting stroke. The SAM is definitely a better system, but at $8,000 is enough better for me to need that. How am I going to help my players with SAM? Am I going to be able to do it with that? I'd love to buy a SAM and might if we can show that it's a good return on investment. Learning how your body functions. Titleist Performance Institute. I am Titleist Performance Institute Level 3 Golf Pro. I am a Level 2 biomechanist, which is about the same as staying at a Holiday Inn Express. But great information, some of the best information, some of the greatest things I've learned in the last 10 years in golf instruction is how does the body relate to how they're going to swing and how are we going to put those two things together. I believed in that enough that I actually built a facility where I've got a physical therapy on site and a fitness center on site, so that if there are things, traditionally what we've done in golf instruction is said, this is the way we want you to swing, this is the way you should be swinging, go to it. We assume that the player didn't know what they were supposed to be doing. But how often do we have a player out there who says, I'm trying to do this, but I just can't do it? Many, many times, they can't do it because they can't do it. The body's incapable of doing it, or possibly that their golf clubs aren't the right implement to make that swing happen. Body Balance for Performance, Czech Institute, and now just lately NG360 is a Nike initiative where they've teamed with Gary Gray to figure out their biomechanics, fitness track for helping players perform better. This is right up Rick's alley here. We've got the Focus Band Mental Golf Workshop profiles, Golf Psych, using disc profiles to figure out the best way to communicate with people. Using the Focus Band, Rick, I'll just let Rick go into that a little bit later. But these are the technologies that are available. So we can spend tons and tons of money on all this stuff. I encourage you to investigate it, know what's available, but then also look towards how is it going to affect your business, how are you going to integrate it into your business, and how are you going to make a return on investment on it. Analogy I like to use is if you go to a doctor, first thing he's going to do is he's going to take a history. He's going to look at what you've been doing over your lifetime. They're going to check your vital signs. As they check your vital signs, they're going to compare that to a long history that they've got there. What's the trend in your vital signs? Are things changing? If you've got something else going on, they might take a blood sample and take a look at what's going on in your blood and what's changing. They might even have to take a closer look. And I did this recently, and the results are here. So my blood pressure was looking pretty good, a little bit high. I got a blue there. I've got my fasting glucose level was a little bit high, and he wanted to look at that. But no big elephant in the room there. So it wasn't the big grand scheme he was looking for here. He looked over here and he said, dude, you got a big heart. That's nice. I said, thank you. My spine's a little crooked. Has been for a long time. There's no real fix for that. But we still hadn't really found the elephant in the room. And when we got to this next MRI, everything was clear. That's how I met Rick, and that's why I'm here today.
So sometimes as an instructor, I feel like that using technology, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, is that having great technology is a piece of the puzzle, okay? It's not the entire puzzle. And so when we look at now from technology, now looking at coaching, I believe I'm a coach, right? And my role in this art is to facilitate, okay? To be involved with, to make performance better, to work with the golfer. It is not to just disseminate information. They can do that now anywhere they want. My goal is to facilitate that, and that's where coaching comes in. So when we look at coaching now, it's blending this together, right? I have to understand what the technology is measuring. I have to understand how to prioritize it, so now this information is not information overload. But now I got to get back to being that coach. Remember being on that driving range and figuring things out and being that detective when we didn't have technology? Some of those lessons, man, we hit it right on the nose. Sometimes like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a long hour. So the coach in you is the one that has the experience, the one that is already a very good player, the one that has seen all these different causes and effects, the one that has different drills and exercise at their disposal that they know what works for people. That's our role as a coach. And you need to understand that your experience as who you are is more important than the technology of what it's measuring. As we look at the doctor analogy, just because he has all of this data, does it mean he can help you? Not necessarily. you're trusting in him to read the data to help you. So we have, like I said, a crossroads here where, one, are you going to use technology? Well, both of us believe you have to use technology in a business environment now to survive. And then two, are you going to educate yourself enough of which technology you're going to use that helps you and your golfer get better? And so blending this together now gets back to how do we coach? So last year I presented on the psychology of teaching, and I talked a lot about communication, and I talked a lot about learning styles. And the way that I present is to answer questions for my students. Right now with the data, we have the what. This is what you need to do. We have lack of rotation here, the club is coming inside, we need to change that. And they go, oh, I understand that. I've seen those lines before on YouTube, and my club's supposed to be here. And oh, yeah, I've been told I got to go 90 degrees. They already know the what. They need to know why it's important, because we have to now prioritize it. We can have a lot of information, right? Here's all that data. Here's 20 things that are wrong with you. Uh-oh. Where do I start? Well, we as the coach are the ones who are going to prioritize that. And we're going to tell them, we're going to be changing this takeaway. Because when it comes inside, you then bring it back over this way, which now creates your pull slice. Oh, I always wondered, I thought I just needed to fix this. No, it happens earlier. Because you're the one with the experience to tell them the cause and effect. And they go, okay, now I understand why it's so important. But how do I change it? I've tried everything. I'm trying to do what that YouTube video showed me, and I'm trying to do what Michael Breed said on the Golf Fix. Well, let's try some drills. You know, I loved the presentations yesterday. We're talking about assessments. What can our students do in the first place? They don't even know. They've got great information. They think they should be able to do something. They have no range of motion, no balance. And now they're supposed to integrate this stuff? No. Again, the technology is a tool. We as the coaches can now assess them, be able to zero right in and say, here's the deal. The takeaway is going inside because of you have imbalances even at setup. Let's get you balanced and look at, oh, the club went right to the position. Wow, I never would have guessed that that's what it is. We are now cutting down their learning curve. We're the experts. And so now when we look at, you're telling them what they need to change. Again, a lot of them already have information of what they think they need to change. You're telling them why it's important. You're telling them how to make the change. You're now giving them the prescription. Here, you need to do this drill right here, and then be able to do a rotation, and we're going to do a preset drill, here to here. And you're going to do that 30 times in front of a mirror, getting the visual. You're also going to feel it, and you're going to be able to now put them in positions, right? We have, because we get to put our hands on them and get in front of them, we get to see their learning styles. We get to actually physically put them in position. We get to hear their concerns. What are they feeling? That's the art. Okay, we have to navigate now more information than ever before. So we better stay on top of that. And so when we look at this now, the art of coaching, which is facilitating this information, we better be able to use our information correctly, prioritize it, but again, we get our hands on them. We get to interact with them. We get to know what their needs are in a communication standpoint. So as we now move forward to blending the art and science, it's about skill acquisition, isn't it? People are coming to you, for the most part, to become better golfers. They practice hard to change a skill set. Technology saying what you're doing wrong doesn't necessarily help them acquire the skill. So that's, again, where our role as coaches comes in. We're going to be assessing them, certainly. But we are the experts to now give them a path to go down. Because we have the experience. We've been through it our own, right? We're all good players in here. We know we've had some different ways to get to becoming a good player. We can help bring down that learning curve for somebody. In this day and age, it is about quick fixes, isn't it? But wouldn't it be better for somebody to come to us and say, hey, I can help you in this one lesson, you've been struggling on YouTube and Golf Channel for 6 months. So let's help now bring that together. So now we do have an art that we keep working on, but now we have science that's now into the equation, and we need to understand it. So now as we've looked at technology, we know there's been some technology changes here. One thing I want to mention is back to instruction and how it's changed. We've talked about that people got information different ways, from the caddy, from a good player, from books, magazines, Golf Channel. But our coaching has also changed through equipment. Think about the hickory shafts, the steel shafts, graphite shafts. Think about persimmon heads. Everything has changed also. In our coaching, I know it's the flavor of the month, but it's usually whoever the player of the era is. So when Hogan's information came out, that became the way to go. Nicklaus, Johnny Miller, reverse C, now we're teaching that. We then get into more the Faldo age, we're getting into positions. We then get into the athletic age with Tiger Woods. And so now sometimes our coaching is getting affected by who's winning on tour. So there's a lot of things that affect our coaching that we need to be up on. Equipment, what's being said in the media. And this is part of things are just going to keep on going. We can't stop the technology.
So this is one of the few rooms I get to speak in where most of you actually have experienced one of those. I own both of these drivers. These aren't my two drivers, but anyone still playing a persimmon driver in here? Why not? You know, the technology is so much better here. Why wouldn't we use that? Why would we continue to look at golf swings with our eyes when we've got high-speed cameras, when we've got 3D, when we can find out better information and be more precise and more active when we get it? The human element is still involved. For this guy, it doesn't matter what driver he's swinging. The human element's involved. He's not going to be able to use the technology to hit it any better when you top it. If it's a persimmon that you top or a new 913 driver that you top, a top's a top. They go about the same distance. Even though the coefficient of restitution on titanium is 0.83. Thank you. So the human element still takes place in golf, golf coaching, golf instruction. We're the ones who are the experts. We're the ones who are going to use this technology to make it better. This is an area where I want to show you what a lesson looks like in my case. This is a player I've got that's a very good college player. Wanted to hit the ball a little bit farther, and this is again a typical. This was about a week long. And I just happened to video it for the heck of it, and then because I sit around boring late at night and play with my technology, I made a little video about it. But basically, when I look at this, how many of you are familiar with the kinematic sequence? So a few of you know what this means. Here's the kinematic sequence. I see a problem there. I point to it and say, hey, see that red line and that green line? They're a little bit too close together for me. And he says, what does that mean? I said, it doesn't matter to you. Your job is to go out and win golf tournaments. My job is to make sure that after we work a little bit, that those lines aren't together. So in a good kinematic sequence, we're going to see this red line here. It's crossing about in the right spot of this horizontal line. I want to see the green line about halfway in between that, and I want to see the blue line coming across. In this graph, this one comes down. This one's U-shaped. It should be V-shaped, and this red line or red dot at the bottom should be over here. He says, what does that mean? I said, it doesn't matter. He said, if I do my job, when we measure this next, those two should be fixed. If they're not, I've got accountability to him that I'm not, the stuff I'm having him do isn't better. And I want to know that in a week so that I don't send him down a wild goose chase for 6 weeks trying to fix this, doing things that aren't making him any better. So here's what this looked like that week. There was no music in Billy's performance, so I decided I had to throw a little music video up. So that's an example of using technology in a bunch of different ways to enhance my teaching business. For the player, I designed a program that was going to create the changes in the swing. He was convinced that he needed to hit 15 yards farther. I said, okay, here's the reason you weren't. Got transition sequence a little too close together. This was about after a week, I had him come in every day for a week, do the motor skill training and the positional training. It's set up on the computer. You can come in and do that basically without my supervision and then go out and practice. I wanted him to acquire those motor skills and do that positional training away from the golf course, away from the driving range, because what's his job? His job is to win tournaments. It's not to think about his swing and make it better. So the computer's thinking for him. He's going to get into the right spots. And what we saw after a week, when I captured that next week, we got the spacing that we wanted there. We've got the before here and the after, a lot more V-shaped. He picked up 8 miles an hour in ball speed in that week. Okay? I spoke to him recently. He started off the season really well. He won his first tournament, came in 5th in his second tournament, finished 17th in his third tournament. I just texted him, said, what's been going on? Things are starting to slip a little bit. What he's doing better this year than he's ever done in his entire career is he's playing with what he's got. He's trying to shoot the lowest scores he possibly can. He's having a good attitude. He's doing all the right stuff. I said, have you done your motor skill training at all lately? Oh, no, I haven't done that. I said, interesting. I sent him the video. I got a text the next day. Dude, that was so good. I started hitting it so much better today. The swing that he's going to develop is a tool that he needs to be able to shoot low scores and to win tournaments. It also happens to make him very happy when he hits it well. He needs help from Rick quite a bit so that he believes in himself when he's in these tournaments. But to hit it well makes him feel good. It makes him more secure on the golf course, makes him a better player. Oops. Get on that one. The other thing that I did with technology there, he's in a music video. He thinks that's pretty cool. The 19-year-old guy, he shows it to his girlfriend, shows it at the sorority, and ends up with a bunch of different girlfriends. I put it on my website. Other little kids think it's cool. John was talking yesterday about how he will take pictures and videos of bunches of kids having a good time and send that to the parents. Parents love that. The kids love it. They love that record of what they're doing. High school kids, junior golfers, even adults. There's not an adult that I put in the K-vest that before I calibrate it, they're standing there doing this and watching their body move all around. People love this stuff. They enjoy looking at it. It makes a great experience for them. So that again is just a sample. That's not how every golf lesson goes. I would have much preferred to work on Jack's short game that day. Jack wanted 15 yards. We worked on getting him 15 yards. Now,
could you tell us what those lines represent?
what these lines?
Yeah.
This is a spine rotation graph. This is the X factor stretch. This is a differential between lower body rotation and upper body rotation during the swing.
So before the bottom was over there and now it's over here?
Yes.
So what does that mean exactly?
So this is the peak of the differential between the upper body stretch and the lower body stretch. And X factor, the differential between upper body and lower body, how much differential we get isn't necessarily the big thing. That's pretty misunderstood with regards to McLean's stuff that was done years ago. Where that peak happens and if we can get that stretch on the downswing. So we're up to the top of the backswing. Average tour player is going to have about 38 degrees of lower body rotation. It's all over the place, so don't quote me on the average. But average is going to be about 38 degrees of pelvic rotation, about 85, 90 degrees on a 6-iron. So the differential of this is right here. So we got about 40 to 50 degrees of differential. If that increases on the downswing, while we've got a stable upper body and a mobile lower body, that stretch shorten cycle is a source of power. So that's how, by improving that, these graphs tell me the same thing. I can look at this one and know that it represents that other one. But again, if I'm showing him the difference between that and that, it's a lot easier for him to understand. Yes, on the downswing, that's the separation. Yeah. Well, it's on the backswing, so we get some on the backswing. We want to increase it by 3 to 5 degrees on the downswing.
So this means that the peak happened later?
Yes. Sorry, so now you got me geeking out. I love this stuff. So we've got, what this is we've got degrees on the vertical axis here. This vertical line is address position. We've got time from left to right. The top of the backswing is this line. Impact is this line. So as we go back, he starts, it's not uncommon for upper body to be a little bit more open than the lower body at address, because when you reach your right hand down low, the upper body's going to twist open. As we take it away, upper body twists more than the lower body does, so we end up again in a differential here. He's got about 50 degrees of differential. Right about here, from there to there, represents about 2 degrees of extra stretch on the downswing. So as he fires his lower body to start going, he disengages the upper body from the lower body, and that lets him slingshot the upper body coming forward.
What's do you see as a max?
Let's talk about that some other time.
Yeah.
Happy to talk all through lunch. I love this stuff. I'll pull my computer out, we'll look at graphs and maybe go find some scotch somewhere.
Yes.
I'll be here till 3 in the morning. I'll go straight to my lesson tomorrow. But I have a huge passion for this stuff. I love this stuff. I can get specific performance enhancements out of a player by dealing with this stuff. But even though I love this stuff so much, I need to stay away from this the majority of the time that I'm working with tournament players, because this isn't what makes them better. Tournament players. This is what might make your 9 handicap hit it another 15 yards. And if we can figure out how to get people hitting it another 15 yards, you think you'll be busy? Yeah. So again, this is, yes sir, Gary.
So you're send the kid in every day to the indoor thing.
My bay, yeah.
Workout. Okay, but you hadn't planned on doing that. How do you charge him for that?
He's on a monthly retainer with me. Yeah, half-hour lesson. I don't do half-hour lessons at all. I do hour lessons. Anyone who's serious at all goes on a monthly to yearly kind of program. Yeah. We have Rick show you his stuff because he knows his stuff now.
So back about 7-8 years ago, I was working for a company, Body Balance for Performance, and at that time they had about 90 franchises nationwide, and they were right before TPI. They were trying to get the golf fitness revolution going, and I learned a lot from them. Some great physical therapists, and one thing that we did, we had an indoor facility, was to be able to bring this new technology. Remember, this about 7 years ago. And this is right where K-Vest was starting. We were utilizing something called the BMS, Body Motion System. And I will admit that I'm a little bit of a geek when it comes to, I love information. So now I get more information, I'm going, I love it. But I made a crucial mistake, is that I got about 1 hour training on this thing. And I bring in a guy who's about an 8 handicap, and it's an indoor facility, and we put the vest on him, and I've got video running, and he's hitting some shots, and then in my facility, the information just pops up in front of him. I didn't have control over him seeing the graphs or not. So when we went back to something like this, or it was this, but it had 3 other lines going on, and he's looking at it, and I'm looking at it, and I was like a deer in a headlights. Uh-oh, I don't know what I'm looking at, right? And so now I'm like trying to backtrack, like, okay, this is not important, and this is just great data for me, and we'll talk about it later. But I've now opened up Pandora's box. He wants to know what those lines are. He wants to know, is this good, is this bad, oh my gosh, should I quit golf, And so at that moment, I go, oh boy, I have to train myself better. I have to be prepared to use the technology. The technology is not going to teach. It's information. And I remember at the end of that, I apologized. I said, I'm sorry that I didn't use this correctly today. I'm going to go through some training, and I'm going to help you out. And I think what Don brings up was a key point, was when somebody comes in and he may not use the 3D all the time. It depends on what their needs are and their goals are. If somebody wants to hit the ball 15 yards further, We know as golf instructors, it could be club fitting, right? We could look at that. We could look at swing positions. That's what we've used with video. And oh, you're losing the angle here. Let's do some stuff. Now we have 3D to check how much separation we have, which now creates the stretch factor, which boom, the ball goes. The more information we have at our disposal again, the better information we can now give and facilitate back to them. But we have to know how it is used. So that's why I said you got to know your stuff, because if you don't, you lose credibility immediately. Sometimes the student knows more than you, okay? And I'll be upfront with that. You know what? I don't know enough about TrackMan. I don't know enough about those things. I don't. So guess what? I give them to somebody like Ben Krug, who's a great club fitter in my area. I go, he's the expert. He'll tell you how to do that. Okay? I can't keep track of all the stuff that's out there. I have to know for my business what's going to work. So as we look at a typical lesson for me, which is a little bit different, because a majority of my coaching is mental game coaching, performance coaching. I'm very fortunate to be working at a facility where I can do a lot of on-course instruction. Now, do I use technology? I use my iPad, I use V1, I use some different apps, certainly. I don't have the same setup I used to have with an indoor facility and BMS and all those type of things. But my goals as a coach are different than Don's. We have different performance factors that affect how somebody's going to become a better player, shoot lower scores, and enjoy the game. We have up to this point, we've talked about club fitting, okay? We can utilize fitness, certainly. We have our own swing mechanics that we're teaching. I get into the mental side, course management. Those are all elements to make a complete player. With technology, we have to be careful. Are we going to go just down the road of just mechanics? Or do we have to be, as a coach, bring them back to learn how to play the game? And this is where I love seeing, again, yesterday with Glenn talking about assessing a student. And Bill and John are talking about practice habits. How are we going to make them better? That's where we come into play. So with my mental game, I want to know what the student wants. Now, it could be just, we can ask questions, right? So I utilize some assessment tools. And one is very basic. It's a 5-page. So all my new students, they fill out an assessment form. And some of the questions are, what are your long-term goals? What are you doing with practice and performance goals right now to achieve those goals? I want to know, do they have a plan already, or do I need to help facilitate that? And then I get into what are some of the mental game challenges you may have. I talk about some of the success stuff of describe your attitude and behavior when you're playing at your best in the zone. I talk about comfort zone. I talk about focus, confidence, mental toughness. Now this is a self-assessment. Is this science? Not really, because it's a self-assessment. It's going to be skewed a little bit. But it's a starting point to understand the communication of what they think they need, right? And how I'm going to help with that. Now with some of my older, more serious students, they'll do another behavioral assessment, which is a DISC. This one's more specialized for athletes. And it's about 40 pages long. It's a lot of information, right? Do I give it to everybody? No. Do I allow them to read their report? No. Because they think, I just have the report now, I can help myself with the mental side. It's a form of communication. So some of the assessments that I use now are going to help me as a coach. So I did a coaching assessment to know what my communication style is. My communication style doesn't always work with all people. And now you get somebody who has a conflicting, if you want to say that, communication style. I may have a hard time getting through to them. They may want something different from me. Well, now with this type of an assessment, I know who I'm dealing with. This is a behavioral assessment. And it is more scientific. It's been around for a long time. So I'm looking again at assessing what their goals are, if they have any. I'm always surprised about what you want to accomplish, and they can't answer that question. I do get a lot into the why they're playing the game. I feel from a motivational standpoint, I want to know why they're spending so much time and resources for this game. And we hear all kinds of questions, or all kinds of answers on that, right? Sometimes it's for competitive reasons, sometimes it's for social reasons, sometimes it's for exercise. If I know that, I can now help with my coaching to get back to their core motivation. If it's competitive, Don and I work with a lot of competitive, and they have that tournament coming up, I know that's going to motivate them to practice and get better. I have other people, no tournaments, no, I just want to play with my friends, I want to go to a beautiful place like Desert Willow and spend a weekend, but not embarrass myself. That's their goal, not embarrassing themselves. Right? I have to know these things so I can communicate better with them. So I use assessment tools to at least start the conversation going. The next thing I do is I define my role as a coach. And I emphasize that it's an interaction between the golfer and myself. If I ask people, because the mental game, I say, is the mental game important? They all say, oh yeah, it's important, all right. I go, okay, when was the last time you trained it? And usually I get a blank stare, well, trained it? No. And then I go, well, what is the mental game? And very few can even answer that. So I need to have a base point to know what they think it is, what they think their needs are, and then they're coming to me, what do they think I'm supposed to provide? Just a magic breathing technique that's going to make everything go away, or is it I have to take them out on the golf course? I need to know what they need. So I always define my role. And as I have a conversation with them, my first session is always 2 hours. We go over assessment, we go over goals, we go over what they feel their needs are. I tell my role as a coach and how I'm going to help and support them. I'm going to tell them this is how the plan is. We look at your assessment. Here are our priorities. We're going to be working on, you get distracted easily at the end of a round because you start thinking about the score ahead of you. These are some of the techniques we're going to go right on the golf course right now and to start to implement. And they go, oh, I get it now. I need them in that first hour to know, oh, I get what we're going to do. Because if I leave it just out there, we're going to work on your mental game, and they think it's about positive thinking, and they're waiting for me to talk about positive thinking, and that's not anything that I really coach, there's a disconnect. When there's a disconnect with the student, we're in trouble. There's a conflict up here. Wait, I thought this was going to be this. And we've lost them. So there has to be that communication now. So now I've gone now, and I'm starting to define a plan. This is what we're going to do. You said you want to get a Division I scholarship. You're a junior right now. Your scoring average is at a 76. You haven't played AJGA events. And we now say this is what needs to happen in these. And they feel, oh, good. Somebody finally is telling me what I need to do. That's what the coaches do. We're the experts. We get to tell them this is how the path is for your success. Well, I take them on the golf course a lot. I want them to experience hands-on what it is about a pre-shot routine, post-shot routine, about course strategy and what you're thinking. But it's interesting in the mental game, it's sometimes just out there, right? How do you quantify the mental game? If I say work on your pre-shot routine and your focus, and somebody comes back and goes, yeah, my focus was a lot better. I don't know if that's really true, because then the parent comes to me and says, you should have seen Johnny. He was distracted all day long. I can't believe it. I got a text the other night. We're working on just emotional control with this one junior golfer. The junior golfer leaves me this nice message on my cell phone. Rick, I really stayed committed at the end of the round. I made a few bogeys. I came back. Oh, I'm feeling good. Thank you. I get a text from the father. Rick, he's back to his old things again. He made a bogey. He went huffing off there. Right? So just because they tell you what's happening, does that really truly mean that that's happening? No. So technology for the mental side, I've worked, I used to have something called a peak achievement trainer. It measures brainwave activity. Now I've gone with a company called Focus Band. And so now we just put that sucker on. Okay? We can play golf with it. We can do putting with it. We can do training in the computer. And what we're measuring now, we're measuring the ability to focus. How do I go from broad to narrow? It can measure if I'm on my left side, analytical side, or on my right side, more the subconscious. It can measure facial tension. It can measure anxiety level. Now, is that important for me for a mental game coach? You bet. Is it important for them to actually now quantify a feeling when the computer lights up and we would consider, they call it the motion state or the zone state, and now they go, wow, I felt that. And yeah, that's something I've tapped into before. And now they can actually experience what it is to be focused, in the right side, relaxed. And they go, oh, okay, I get that now. And I can take them from a closed environment, I can take them on the putting green, I can take them on the golf course with that. Yeah, it's an expensive device. But for what I do, it's vital now. I can measure it. And they now go, oh, I know the difference. Because I always go back to, so you just achieved that in 20 seconds. You achieved what we wanted. What did that feel like? I never tell them it's going to feel like blank. I need to get that feedback from them. I've heard people say it feels calm. I felt fluid. That word now I will use in all my coaching. Great, let's get back to that calm state. Remember how you did that? Great. So this tool, if I didn't have that tool, I am guessing. I don't want to guess. Okay? I used to guess as a young teacher, and those were some really bad lessons. So now we need to now utilize technology here for not only assessment where they're at, but to train them. And then my role is to say, you experience this. I can then add more distractions. I can add more pressure to see can they still maintain that state. And then I can give them tools. So I have an app on my phone that teaches them how to breathe. Yeah, it can tell you different breathing rates and actually sees a picture of inhalation and exhalation at different rates. I have one that they can listen to. We worked with one of my better players. He had a hard time taking the focus band idea from sitting in front of a computer to the putting green. Well, the putting green now, there's an outcome involved. Potential consequences if I don't make it. People are watching. There was anxiety that he could never get into his right side of his brain. So we had him listen to this brainwave type of audio. For 5 minutes, he came back, and he was now able to get into that zone state. Because we can now, this is a $2 app that he's listening to on my phone to now calm his brainwaves. I mean, this is just in the last 6 months, okay, that I'm learning these things. So I'm excited in my part of being a coach is to be able to utilize these things. But now he has a 99-cent app about breathing and about brainwave activity and stuff like that. He can actually now train. My role as the coach, remember, is to develop now a plan. This is what you need to do. And if you have credibility and you have rapport with them, they're going to do it. If you don't have any credibility or rapport with them, they're going, I don't know what they're talking about. He didn't even know what that graph meant anyways. I'm not going to believe that guy. We've been there before. So now my big thing also on my end is I'm going to give them as many resources as possible for them to succeed. And so every time I have a session with somebody, there's a follow-up email. They have worksheets. They have certain things they have to practice and email me back. And if it's not there, then we're going to have a discussion. You told me you wanted to achieve this. You agreed upon this type of plan, and you haven't done it. Or they start seeing the success, they start doing it, and now the momentum is moving forward for them to achieve their goals. And I bring all this together because we do need to fulfill the needs of not only of the coach, me, because I want people to get better. I want to feel like I'm giving my all to them, but the golfer is there for a reason. Okay? And Don and I were talking a lot in the last few months about this, and we have all this great tech stuff. But when it comes down to it, it's an experience. Right? We provide an experience for somebody to come to us. They have a lot of choices. We have to know and fulfill the needs of our student first. And how we do that is through questions. We talked about that a little bit, through assessments. Get to know them a little bit more. But communication is the key. So if I communicate somebody, do this, and they don't do that, did communication really take place? No. I have 3 kids. Grant, pick up your room. An hour later, room is still messy. Grant, pick up your room. Hour later, still messy. How's my communication working? Not very well. Because communication is the response you elicit. What is the response I'm getting? He's not doing what I want him to do, thus no communication. So I said, Grant, hey, we're having some people over. It's real important to get that cleaned up, and maybe your sister will help you out. And they cleaned it up in 10 seconds. I got my goal, right? They fulfilled that. They listened, but they actually took action on that. There was a response. So we, as the coaches, are facilitating information, right? We're giving a message out. If the message is not understood or not acted upon, there was no communication. However, if I do give them information, I say that this is how you're going to take action, and they take action, great, we've communicated. That's what we want, right? But technology in and of itself, if they are trying to communicate with a YouTube video, good luck. If they're trying to see themselves on a camera phone, and they go, gosh, I'm not sure, is that where I need to take away? Well, no communication happening. That's what we provide. So fulfilling the needs is about understanding what they want, but it's also developing a message to get them where they want to go. And are they truly taking that in and acting on that?
So it occurred to me the whole time that Rick was talking about that stuff. That was just fascinating things. One of the things when I was playing, I ended up having to quit my playing career because I had a bad back. So I've kind of devoted my teaching career towards learning about golf fitness, learning how the body reacts. The fact that Rick has devoted so much of his time to figuring out this kind of stuff makes me believe that this guy must have been some kind of psycho.
Guilty as charged.
So, just an observation from a fellow attendee here. Communication is key. How we're going to fulfill the needs of the clients. I've got a few guys up here that actually belong to me. I've got 3 of my college guys here. 2 of these guys were All-Americans already. One of them is on his way to being an All-American. They could not be more different. The way I structure lessons, the way I work with them, the needs that they have when they show up to my facility, the way I text them. You know, this guy, I'm going to have big, long texting conversations. It's amazing if I ever get more than 2 words out of him. How are things going? Okay. That's about what I'll get from him. We're like writing poetry to each other. This guy over here just kills it and shoots real low scores. But then we're going to see other people showing up. We've got people who are social. We've got high school girls, interesting group. They're gonna respond a lot differently and need a lot different motivation from us to be successful. I used to be a real hard ass. Rick talks about the disc profiles, and I'm a pretty high D. And somebody would walk in, and I was very direct and told them exactly what I thought about their game. And for a guy like that, that was golden. I would challenge him. I'd tell him, your swing's terrible. You shoot 78. You need to shoot 72. If we don't do something about this, you're never going to get where you want to go. Okay? That worked great for him. Drove him. I still say that kind of stuff to him. It motivates his response. If I said that to her, she'd fall in a heap on the floor and start crying. Okay? So early on in my teaching career, well, she just doesn't get it. I didn't get it. That was my problem. That wasn't her problem. I needed to learn what her needs were and fulfill those needs. For business, it matters a lot. Now, you can go narrow and deep. I'm only going to teach those hard-driven guys that like to be talked to that way. Not sure if it's the best method. I had we got plenty of time. Had a lady come in. I like to put these these into numbers and perspective. I had a lady call me last November. I was on my way down to Thanksgiving, I got a call, I was riding the train, and she said, "Hi, I'm a referral from Patty, and I wanted to come in for a half-hour lesson." I said, "Oh, I'm really sorry, I don't do half-hour lessons anymore." She said, "Well, Patty does." I said, "Well," Patty's been working with me for about 15 years. I love Patty, I think she's a great lady. I still do half-hour lessons with her, but I just don't do that." She says, "Well, how much do you charge for an hour lesson?" I said, "Well, it's $200. She said, "Oh, I can't pay $200 for a lesson." I said, "Well, you know what? I really like Patty. If you're a friend of Patty's, you're a friend of mine. Come on in. We'll sit down, we'll talk for an hour, we'll take a look at what your needs are. We'll figure out exactly what you're after, and I can tell you who in town would be a good person to go to." So she came in and she sat down, and for the first 45 minutes, she told me all about her golf experiences. Well, I was flying to Colorado and I was working with this lady, and she was really mean to me. Every time I sat down with her, she was mean. She didn't listen to the things I said. You know, she was demeaning. I just didn't like it. And I went there for about 6 months. I just wasn't getting any better. Okay, so she can fly to Colorado to take lessons for 6 months. But okay, cool. And then I went down to Boca. I was in Boca and I was taking lessons at this golf school. And these people were great, and they listened to me. And I was there. I'd take their 2-day schools. I said, "Great." And she just kept talking and talking and talking. And what I figured out about her, she just wanted somebody to listen to her for a few minutes. Men, it's wise to try this with your wives too. I haven't tried it at home, but I think it might work. By the time she was finished, we spent the last 10 minutes. I said, "What do you need in your golf game?" Because I already knew what she needed from me. She says, "Well, I want to be able to hit a little soft pitch shot." I said, "All right, well, let's get your sandwich out." 10 minutes later, she's hitting nice high soft pitch shots. And she said, "What do we do next?" And by the time she left, she had committed to an $8,000 program for the next year. She wasn't willing to pay me $200 for an hour because she didn't know who I was. She didn't know what I was about. She didn't know what was going to go on with that. But when she left, we had a commitment for the coming year. She wanted to break 60 for 9 holes, for goodness sakes. Her goals weren't lofty, but she wanted to do that with somebody who was going to listen to her and fulfill her needs in that lesson experience. And I sat there and listened to her. It paid off for me. It paid off for her. We have a nice time. She shot 54 recently, so we're getting there. She hits it about 110 yards with her driver. I don't know how much lower she's going to be able to shoot than 54. But basically what we ended up finding, I don't put her on 3D. It's totally inappropriate for her. It would just crush her. She had no idea what playing golf was. So most of the time we go out, and she's got an attention span shorter than mine. So most of the time we just go out and play golf, and I talk to her about course management situations. How to, if she hits a bad shot on the course, she gets really disturbed by this. "Len, you hit mostly bad shots. Don't worry about that. Enjoy the good ones. But most of them are going to be bad. Enjoy the good ones. Let's figure out how to get you under 54. Let's have you confident about a pre-shot routine, a post-shot routine." That's what she wanted to do. She was so uncomfortable because she thought everyone was watching her score, that she didn't want to play golf with her husband because, he's watching my score and everything I do. Well, he does. So I hadn't sat down and had a talk with him too. "Mike, do you want to drive her out of the game? Do you want to continue playing golf with Elaine?" "Yeah." I said, "Stop telling her she's drop kicking it. She knows she's drop kicking it. She's going to drop kick it for a while. She can barely stand up, But she can enjoy the game if she knows what the process is, how she's going to get out there and go about it and take care of her business. And she's having a lot more fun doing it. So fulfilling the needs of the client, they all have different needs. How you're going to respond to them is crucial. This is where we are. The kids are on the computer. People are on the computers. We love technology. We like looking at all that stuff. We have great opportunity to get ourselves out there and be seen in social media. I'll give another example of how social media can help. Again, I'm on Facebook a fair amount. Some of the Facebook groups, I make posts. Business aspects. How does that affect us? A guy that I met on Facebook from Providence, Rhode Island. We have some interactions. We discuss a few things in a forum. He is teaching Nike golf camps up in Monterey. A kid in Ojai goes to Monterey, meets Dennis. Dennis works with the kid for the week. The kid has a good time, says, do you know anyone in my area who can teach me? He says, I happen to. Don Parsons is in Santa Barbara, why don't you go give him a call? Davis calls me the week after he gets back from camp. He flies to Europe for a couple of months or something like kids do in California sometimes these days. We get together when he gets back. He came in and we sat down, we did the thing. I ran him through a putting evaluation. You know, it became obvious that he needed some help with his putting. Putting stroke wasn't great. There were several things that needed to be done. I filmed a video of the data that we collected. I filmed him doing some drills. So this is how I want you to do it. I emailed it to him. He got it on his phone while he was in the car on the way home. He's looking at that, forwards it to a friend of his. There's only about 3 people in Ojai that play golf. Forwards it to a friend of his. She calls me the next day. So Davis now has taken two series. We're going to work on, when his school allows, we're going to work on getting him into a program. Sophia's coming in. She's going to start working with us 3 hours a week in a tournament players group. She wants to go to college and play college golf. That one referral will be worth about 12 grand to me in the next year. She's already referred 2 other players to me. And this is all from a guy I met on a Facebook group. Okay? So there are opportunities out there that we can get ourselves out, get seen, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Twitter, however you're going to do it. Not doing it is going to hurt you. People are using these types of means to find credible professionals around the world in all different sports, but especially in golf. So I definitely suggest looking into that, figuring out where you fit, and finding your niche.
So Don just said finding your niche. This is, I believe, crucial for us as we move forward. Remember, the art now of coaching is to facilitate this information to make them better golfers. And I think it's interesting as we move forward is to understand that we have all this technology, people are going to demand it and they're going to expect it. And that yet as coaching, are we doing enough to improve our coaching methodologies and being able to say, okay, this is my method and this is how I can do things? Are we flexible enough in learning more? That's still our role. And the niche part is interesting because I think people are going to go to more and more experts, right? When we were 15 years ago, before TPI and major club fitting, we, as the professional, was expected to know a little bit about a lot of things. Now it's different. We're expected to still know a lot, okay, about a lot of different things, but we should be an expert at one thing where people will always come to you. So for my own business, I made it a point 10 years ago because I loved the mental game. And yes, I did have some issues back then that I've dealt with. But I was fascinated with that because I wanted to help junior golfers. I wanted to help college players who were having a difficult time with the mental side of the game, which had affected their family, which affected their schooling. That was where my passion was. And I now made a concerted effort to learn as much as I can about that side, so now people would come to me for that niche. We were having dinner last night. I am not a good putting instructor. I'll tell you that right now. To be at that level, I would have had to gone to certifications. I would have had to go there, and I chose a different path. Can I give a good putting lesson to a beginner, early intermediate? Yes. But I'm working with competitive players who one shot means a lot. So I have decided I'm going to be the best at this one area, and from a competition standpoint, that's better for me. I'm gonna stand out more. And if I develop networking with a club fitter and an expert in 3D and a fitness trainer, I, the coach, can now facilitate that team. And I feel that that has helped my business, is that I bring a team approach to this. But I think all of us have that one area that you're very passionate about. And if you can use technology in that one area and get to be known as that person, people are going to come a long ways to get you. I'm still amazed from a marketing standpoint, not more professionals have a website. A basic website, get that information out there. It could be just look like a brochure page, but it's on your business card, people can get more information. Or a video, YouTube, so people get to know you more and know your style and what you have to offer. That's part of the technology here. Yes, we use it in the actual lesson, but it's much more than that. You know, I'm going to be leveraging Don to help me with Facebook and Twitter and the other things that I have not leveraged as well as I would like. And I know it seems overwhelming, but it's our business. Not only our business because it's our livelihood, but it's our business now to connect with golfers and make them better. So remember as you leave today is we still have an art to all this. And that's where us as experts come in. Know their needs, be able to fulfill those needs, use technology that is now expected in the process. Get yourself educated on those type of things to utilize that. And you're going to find that your business now is going to grow. Without embracing technology, without embracing the other marketing tools here, unfortunately, I think you're going to struggle. I'm going to let Don here conclude.
Okay. So, in conclusion, one of the business is kind of where I've started moving lately. About 7 years ago, I bought a practice facility. I've got a 9-hole golf course. We developed the fitness area. We've got the physical therapy on site. We've got a putting studio, the 3D bay. We've got all that stuff. I work a lot harder now than I did 10 years ago when I was an independent contractor. I have opportunity that I didn't have as an independent contractor now because I'm an owner and I have these facilities. But what's the business about? And I think that's the area I'm beginning to focus on. Too often, many of us are afraid to ask for the sale, to unapologetically tell people what our rate is. I've spent a lot of money, a lot of time, and a lot of effort becoming an expert in doing these things. My time and effort's worth a lot. And people are willing to pay that. So one of the things, I love this slide. So right here, I've got a bag of coffee beans laying there. They're raw, they're uncooked. This is a commodity. Jim, you've seen this one, right? You remember this one from, I borrowed this slide. Okay. When we take that coffee and we grind it up, now we've got a product. You brew it and you put it in a 7-Eleven cup and now you got a service. Okay? But these crazies figured out that if you build a little shop and sell your cup of coffee for $4.50, now you've got an experience. Okay? People will come here in droves. They'll sit there for hours. They'll hold business meetings. They'll buy anything you want to sell. You're basically just selling this commodity chopped up and ground and sold. But how many people do you know go to Starbucks like it's a religion every day? They constantly do it. If we can take this attitude in our instruction, one of the big trends in America these days is not gathering things. Okay? The economy has moved in such a way that very, very wealthy people, rather than buying diamond necklaces for $70,000, are taking vacations for $70,000 instead. They're dying for experiences. If we can provide them an experience rather than just a half-hour lesson, it's an opportunity for us to enhance our businesses and our lives. I think that's crucially important. So I kind of look at this as my business model. My commodity, I might throw out there on YouTube. I'm going to throw free information in a blog and give that information away. A product might be a DVD. Okay? Is that the same as getting away with somebody for a couple of days or for a year, working consistently through a program? The experience is what people are after, and I think that's going to be really beneficial moving forward. One of the things I wanted to do, Rick and I decided not to give out handouts. I decided it because I was running late and didn't finish them. Bill asked for them. we'd like to provide handouts that are pertinent to you on things that we have today, or that we've covered today. So I've got a list here. If there are any handouts you guys would like to see, whether it's Rick's interview stuff, if he's willing to hand that out, any of the information I might have covered, links where you can get a hold of learning about some of that information, the technology that we got. We'll take a list and have you guys email it out if that's possible through the section. So if anyone has questions on anything we covered today, or has anything that you'd like to get as a handout that you find would be beneficial, I didn't think a bunch of our slides with a picture of my brainwave activity up there would be very useful for any of you. I find it's not very useful to me a lot of the time either.
Johnny, talk about, those of us that are independent contractors still and don't have a building and don't have the resources to get to the point where you're at. What should we be looking at doing differently than what we're doing now?
One of the things Rick just brought up that I think is crucial, and I think too many independent contractors are afraid of it, is outsourcing some of that. Okay? I guarantee you I'll have Rick in Santa Barbara before too long using the focus band. He was working some kinks out with that. There are going to be people that I'm going to have training with Rick. There are things I can do by learning from Rick to help the majority of the people that I teach with. But when you need an expert, don't be afraid to hire an expert. Find somebody in your area that has 3D and can work with you. Again, I learned this, I've got a guy that I mentored under starting about '98. He was a fitness trainer. We opened our business together, Kevin Brown. Guy meant the world to me. Just a high quality person. And he taught me that having other experts at your disposal and working through them makes you the guy that people are going to go to. If you can find all the other experts, if you can find what somebody needs and send them to the right person, they're still coming to you. They're still going to come to you. They're going to send their friends to you, and they're going to figure out, hey, this guy will get to the bottom of it. He may not be able to provide me the answer, but he's going to be able to find me the person who has the answer, because he's got a network of professionals around him that he understands. So that would be the biggest thing I can recommend from an independent contractor point of view.
Do you
Come on.
get a residual from that?
No, I don't get a residual. I get referrals from him. And again, now that's one of the areas where people ask about that all the time. How do you structure it? You know what? Don't worry about that. That stuff will come back to you. Take care of your business. Take care of your clients. Money will follow.
Is most of your work referrals these days? And meaning, how do you get most of your new clients? Other than the interaction with the...
99.8% of them are referrals.
Okay. With 10 years ago, 15 years ago, what was it?
Always.
Always, okay. Good.
Always. I grew my business slowly over, I've been teaching full-time for 22 years. That's all I've done. I figured out pretty early on that I love doing this, and that it's what I wanted to do. As soon as I was a PGA member, I was teaching
So the passion
full-time.
of your teaching is leading people to tell, hey, go see Don because he'll get you into whatever they're...
Right. Yeah, I think early on as a young teacher, one of the things that I had that helped establish my credibility was my playing ability. So tournament results, I'd throw that kind of stuff out there. I used to send those paper newsletters. You remember those, right? So Bob was on my email list back then, or my mailing list back then. So direct mail, any of that kind of stuff. So people would get that. But again, communicating with people, like Rick's been saying, communication's key. Let them know what's out there. They'll tell all their friends.
I have a question for Rick. I've never heard of the focus band before, but is that neural feedback? I mean, are you sitting in front of a computer getting that feedback, or is that?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so I used something called a Peak Achievement Trainer about 6-7 years ago. It was limited at that time because it was wired literally to the computer. Now that it's wireless, we can actually have them perform the task. So we can take it on the putting green and have them stroke putts and do different scenarios to see if that changes. But yeah, basically EEG type of thing, brainwave activity.
Yeah, that's how things are going now. The wireless stuff is it's getting fast enough that you can do it. I've got a Flight Scope X2 being delivered today, I think. Battery operated, wirelessly hooks up to my iPad. I can drop it on a tee anywhere and use it. So pretty excited about that thing, to look at that and see how the data is coming out of that. I want good data. One of the other things, I don't know if I ever mentioned, yeah, I did mention it, that you don't necessarily need research quality to help people. You can do with a lot lower quality, but again, just getting some data and knowing which direction you want to go is crucial.
Which I think leads to what Bill was saying, is that if you're an independent contractor, just have range use, you don't have an indoor facility or something like that. I mean, you've got the Ping app, you've got the V1 app, so you now have a putting technology that can help that, and that's very inexpensive. You have the V1 app now. Like I said, I have other apps, one, just a simple metronome to help people with when they're putting. It's all on my phone. Is now, you're starting that process. And I think that's the important thing, is we wanted to say, if people that have not done anything, is at least start the process in the technology. Yes, we're gonna have different setups and different budgets and stuff like that, but we can get in now pretty inexpensive when you think about an iPad and everything else that can come with it.
Yeah, Rick makes a great point there, getting started. Again, that's why I went with the Tommy system. I wanted to learn as much as I could about putting. I didn't want to spend $9,000 to do it, although I spent $5,000 building a room so I could do it. But I'll start with the Tommy. If I need more information, I think that I'm short there, I'll up to a Sam. If there's a return on the investment, or the information I'm going to get is going to help my players well enough. I love spending money on technology.
And then the last piece is just, again, let's not forget that it's a game that's played out there on the golf course. And that's where I think, again, as experts, when we do a playing lesson, we can be side by side and get their thinking and say, hey, well, how about thinking about this type of shot? And how does it come out of this divot? How's it, right? You're in an indoor facility, you can't simulate different lies, you can't get the wind. So we, again, have to bring them out there where they can experience a great day. Look at this weather. I mean, we all want to be out there right now because that's the experience that's happening. So let's not forget that.
And based on that experience and coaching, how, I heard you were saying something about a yearly, monthly, because I would love to bring people in more often, especially when we're testing out the equipment or something like that. How would you structure those programs? Or I heard you had a player group.
Question was, how do you structure programs on a monthly, yearly kind of program? I've got a tournament players program that I do. It is between $700 and $500 a month, $500 and $700 a month, depending on the tournament they're going to do. Starting to move, I just hired an assistant. We're going to move them into some of the small group situations, because we can do supervised practice with groups of 3 to 5 pretty easily.
Is that unlimited for the month? They just come in as much as they can?
They'll come in as much as I say they need to come in. I can give them an assignment that they'll have a hard time managing in a whole month. So do they need a private lesson every single day? No, they're not going to get anything out of that. They're wasting both their time. Do they need a private lesson every other week and 2 supervised practice sessions to make sure they're doing the right stuff? That sounds more like it. With the tournament players, we're going to start going to at least 6 tournaments a year with them. So we'll get a group of 8 kids now. Business sense. If I put them in a golf bag that says the studio at Twin Lakes or Don Parsons or whatever, my picture on the side of it, if they're wearing hats that say that, they show up at a tournament and there's 6 of them, they all go down to the end of the range and they start practicing, and we've got a coach standing there with them. You think that's going to be good for business? Okay. One of the things that I've been doing, I was at the World Golf Fitness Summit last week, and I started talking to a guy in Spain, one of the worst economies in the world. This place is awful. And I'd known Jason for a while and had no idea what his whole business model was. He owns 3 golf academies in Spain, and they netted $3.5 million last year. Yeah, not bad. Went up, talked to Mike Bender. He's starting his resident golf academy. He's got 7 kids for the first year at $70,000 a piece. And people are out there willing to spend money. We've got to be willing to do more than say it's $40 for a half hour.
I think mine's a little bit different in that sometimes I'll have students who I don't see for 3 months. They're playing tournaments and stuff like that. But part of my packaging is to be able to text me whenever they want, call me whenever they want. Then I'm their coach. And we have certain restrictions that say, hey, I'm not going to pick up your phone when I'm with another client or when I'm with my family, but let's plan on, because I wanted to make it, I have made it mandatory with several, is that the first tournament that we're going into as a team is that they have to call me the night after their practice round. We go hole by hole of what their strategy is. We then talk about what the goals are for that tournament. They call me in between rounds, because I've had everything from, Rick, I shot 82 and I'm quitting, to Rick, I have a 7-shot lead in going into the last round and I don't want to screw this up. Okay, so I want to be there and I want to know that it doesn't end when the clock, oh, your lesson's over. Okay, I get a lot of people who come to me and say, I appreciate you having that open line of communication because I feel like you're listening and that I matter. It's a huge part. Okay, so I think when we have packaging plans and this is what you need, let's do it, and I'm here for you, that means a lot to them.
That's huge.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.